Hi and welcome my jauntily macabre friends to yet another ADD-ramble about something dark and sometimes gross and most likely morbid. This is an episode I'm gonna call Death by Vanity, and we're going to the Victorian era where beauty was a sure way to get yourself disfigured or cancelled. Tuberculosis was the hottest thing around. No one asked for the latest PlayStation. Everyone wanted about tuberculosis. Why? Well, let's get straight on into it.
Every job must be carefully analyzed.
I had often heard of the peculiar beauty in which consumption invests in its victim, but here I saw it in all its fearful loveliness, the fragile form almost bending beneath the summer breeze, the transparency and purity of her complexion, through which you could trace the delicate tinting of the blue veins, her beautifully formed lips, to which fever had given the coral hue of health, and her eye, oh how spiritual, how unlike earth was the brightness of her dark blue eye. So yeah, I had to change my top there because I've lost weight and I bought it in size medium and it was too big and it was going everywhere and it was starting to annoy me, so...
Let's continue. Cheers.
Damsel in distress, corsets making you faint, beauty and fashion slowly poisoning you, and your skirts being caught on fire. Those are a few of the things that we're gonna delve into now. Yay! Cool. So, to start with, what was the ideal of beauty for a big part of the 1800s? We can't say it for the entirety of the Victorian era because, of course, all kinds of fashion and beauty ideals, it goes up and down from one extreme to the other. But for a big part, especially around like in the middle of the 1800s, the female ideal was a modest, frail angel of the home, kinda. I mean, I think the word frail is the code word here. And refined, modest, extremely pure. You were just supposed to be so heckin' sensitive that, like, anything could just put you into excitement and then you would faint or dearly depart then and there. There were many reasons for women to go into these states. You could be reading too many novels, overexerting your frail little brain, writing too many letters, reading too many letters, wearing thin shoes, being in London for too long, and just general unpleasantness. Yeah, their frail nerves could not handle a single little thing. So, into that, we got the whole frailty beauty standard. You were supposed to be pale, translucent almost. Big doe eyes, dilated pupils were like a sign of beauty too. Pale, frail, modest, and thin. A breeze could tumble you over, just like that. Those were the ideals, anyway. The fluctuations usually were between being healthy and intellectual, and this kind of modest, frail angel of the home were in the intellectual corner. The ideals started to turn to the mind. They didn't want any buxom, healthy, happy ladies. No. They wanted ladies sitting at home, preferably almost at life cancellation's door. So hot right then. But that didn't only concern women. During this time, the tormented poet was also a very big thing. Many of that time's great male celebrities, Lord Byron, I don't know if he died from tuberculosis, but John Keaton, he died from tuberculosis. Intellectually prone, skinny, frail men, that's also a male beauty standard. And that was what people wanted then. Oh, that wasn't a rant.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
That was a rant and a half. Okay. Now that we've established all that, and I hope you were able to hold that thread in any way, this is where tuberculosis waltzes in. And what is tuberculosis? It's a bacterial infection that most usually hits the lungs. It could go to other parts, but the lungs was the most usual place for it to sit. And symptoms. It could take a few years for it to truly go and dearly depart its victim, but during that time you would grow extremely thin, pale, but also have your cheeks like tinted by fever. Your eyes would get sunken and therefore look very big. Your eyes would have dilated pupils and have a sheen because, hey, you had a constant low-grade fever. And now you can see how the tuberculosis and the beauty standards came together and wreaked havoc on Victorian people. It's said that the ladies who weren't lucky enough to suffer from the disease were mimicking it. Fantastic. The Victorian era was filled with some kind of death cult almost, you know, with Victoria being in mourning forever, and people were very into this romanticizing of demise. An example of that is Edgar Allan Poe. He lost his beloved mother, who was an ideal woman in his eyes, to tuberculosis. And he also lost his dear wife, very young, to tuberculosis. And that, of course, made its way into his works, that mostly, or many of them, were about young, beautiful women dying young and beautiful, and the aftermath of that. His wife's demise is said to have been inspirations to some of his biggest poems and novels, Lenore, The Raven, and the like. Mr. Poe was actually a huge fan of tuberculosis, which is very weird considering. He romanticized the heck out of it. At one point, during a dinner party, his wife started coughing, and she was in the late stage, so she coughed up our bodily red liquid, and to that he wrote, "She stopped, clutched her throat, and a wave of crimson blood ran down her breast. It rendered her even more ethereal." His morbidly angelic wife, Virginia. And to end this little ramble about Edgar Allan Poe, this is what he had to say about the disease. "I would wish all I love to perish of that gentle disease." Cool. Thanks, Edgar. Tuberculosis was called during this time cunsumption because it seemed to consume its victims by its intense weight loss and how they almost seemed to wither away, but in a beautiful way. It's almost like they thought, okay, they died, but at least they were pretty. One kinda weird idea that they also had was that if you were born in a certain way, like beautiful and lively, intelligent, you were predisposed of getting cunsumption or tuberculosis, almost like a punishment for being too hot. That just shows how truly entangled the ideas of beautiful people and tuberculosis came during this time. So, if you weren't lucky enough to get sick, what could you do to achieve the look of consumptive chic? I'm gonna tell you right now. First, we start with makeup. Deadly poisonous makeup. 1. Arsenic wafers. Yeah, they were wafers that you ingested, and they contained arsenic, as you can hear from the word. And they were supposed to give you that pale, translucent skin and even out complexion. You would have arsenic soaps that you would wash your face with too, and some people even went to arsenic baths to get that consumptive, white, pale perfection. But yeah, that could go terribly wrong. Not just in the way that you were slowly poisoning yourself. No. As one advertisement to some arsenic wafers promise, it's said to transform the most sallow skin in radiant health, remove pimples, clear the face of freckles and tan, give the complexion an indescribable brilliancy, and lend to every young lady a charm of person, which makes her adorable. Well, they're selling it to me at least. But what were the not so good symptoms of ingesting all these arsenic wafers or washing your face with these soaps? Kidney failure, nervous system damage, and funnily enough, sores and blemishes on your skin. And of course, the entire poisoning yourself to death slowly. That brilliant pale skin that you got would soon turn into a big pile of sores. Another way to mimic consumption chic, tuberculosis beauty, was actually to drop belladonna into their eyes. Belladonna is also known as deadly nightshade and is extremely poisonous. It was diluted, of course, but it could very well lead to blindness and slow poisonings. Like you were putting poison in your eye, but why did they do it? Yeah, because their eyes would dilate. Maybe get a bit glossy. It was fun before going to a nice ball. Like, hey guys, look at me and my dilated hicking eyes. Yeah. Seems like it would just be easier to go somewhere and get coughed at, so you could get tuberculosis and get it over with. But what then? Now you have these sores all over you. You're a bit half dead from poisoning. You turn to makeup. Good. You could use some face powder. A common ingredient in that was the white powdery lead that looked very nice and white on your skin and would also destroy your skin after a while and poison you. But beyond the pale skin that you're working very hard on, you also wanted that feverish tint on your lips and your cheeks. A very popular red color called vermilion was made out of mercury, also poisonous. So, trying to mimic being consumptive or having tuberculosis was driving these women straight to the grave just as much. It seems like. Anything for looking tuberculosis hot. Sprawled over a swooning couch, looking like you can't lift a finger. all these things would absolutely happen to you if you kept up with these beauty regimens. And then, of course, you wanted to look extra thin. We're delving into corsets, of course. And before anyone comes into the comments and says that corsets weren't deadly, no, most of the times people weren't doing the tight lacing. But the ones who wanted to have that truly consumptive small waist did do a thing called tight lacing, which was very damaging to your internal organs and your ability to breathe. Which also helped with that, but like you fainted a lot, which you did if you have tuberculosis. So 2 flies with 1 stone? Is that two birds with 1 stone? Oh, that's... Do you actually say 2 birds with 1 stone? I need to Google that afterwards. It sounds very badish. Yeah. Tight lacing those corsets would force your liver up towards your lungs. There's actually a preserved liver of a female who died, and you can see the indents on it from the ribs. It was squished against them. And if that wasn't enough, your stomach would be pushed down into everything else you had down there, which made it very hard for all those organs to work properly. But moving on from those corsets, to make the waist appear smaller, you could also have a crinoline, and that made your skirt extremely wide. These skirts were made, or their clothing in general, back in those days, were made of very flammable material. And since they were so hecking wide, accidents, they occurred. Tragically, their wide skirts would get ablaze, and the lady wouldn't notice until it was too late, and she got so much burn damage and dearly departed, yeeted into the Valley of Demise because her skirt caught on fire. Cool. I actually have 2 cases of that very thing happening. The first one is Oscar Wilde's half-sisters, Mary and Emily Wilde, in 1871. They were at a Halloween party when Mary's dress caught ablaze and Emily tried to help, but got caught in the fire herself, and they both demised, aged 24 and 22. Then we have the Archduchess Matilda of Austria. She dearly departed when she was trying to hide a cigarette behind her back, where she had all this flammable material going on, and you can guess what happened. She too caught a blaze and sadly perished. That was in 1867, and poor Matilda was only 18. Beauty is pain. Beauty is tuberculosis. And before we end this little ramble, one deadly Victorian fashion crime that has nothing to do with tuberculosis is still arsenic, though. Arsenic was used to produce this very vibrant and vivid color called emerald green, and it was hyped up. You had it on the wallpapers, on toys, on gloves, hats, dresses. So people were basically walking around getting poisoned by their own dresses and their homes because of the wallpaper. But like, if you put on a dress dyed in arsenic and you start to sweat, that goes into your body. I found a factoid of a woman who tried on some arsenic dyed gloves once, and her entire hands broke out in blisters. Yay. Lucky enough, we did come to the conclusion that we should not put arsenic in everything. Thanks for watching this little video, and if you enjoyed it, please leave a little like, a comment, and why not subscribe? It doesn't hurt, you know? And it actually really helps with the algorithm boosting, so it warms my little hermit heart. And a giant thanks to my Patreons who keep this channel running. Without you, I wouldn't be able to do it, so thanks a bunch. From the bottom of my little heart. So, until next time, stay amazing, stay hydrated, and most of all, stay morbid, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye!